That's a nice, I don't know if everyone got that little notification, but very kind for them to let us know. So hello, I'm Avni. I'm one of the arts programmers here at the Arts SU, and I'm really, really pleased to welcome you today to the Artists Panel Meanings and Motivations. This event is the last in our series that's part of our exhibition. In a few minutes, I will drop the exhibition into the chat, so you're welcome to have a look throughout the event or afterwards. As we start the event, we will be taking a register. So if you haven't already, please change your name to the one that you booked on, and you can do that by just clicking the 3 small dots in the top of your screen. As we go through the event, like I said, please feel free to use the chat, use emojis, ask questions. We will collect them all at the end. You can raise your hand, and you can also interact with our brilliant artists here and our curators. So as I mentioned, this is the last of our events for Xhibit. And for anyone who doesn't know, Xhibit is the longest running open call exhibition that's open to UAL students. In 1997, Chelsea College graduates Kit Hammonds and Angela Robinson created this event for all students of all years, no matter what they were studying. And from that, it grew and grew and grew into the, like I said, the longest running open call. Normally, we have this event as a live event, and in 2020, we would have worked with APT Gallery, whose ethos and commitment to emerging artists is very much like ours here at Xhibit and at the Arts SU. Unfortunately, as we know, live exhibitions weren't possible, so we took the decision to take it online. That was a tricky decision, and it didn't come lightly, but to keep everyone safe and well, we did with the support of all of our funders, that's CAS Arts, Vice, and of course, APT Gallery. With the help of Marjan Tatsouras Tiagi and Becky Hancock, who are here today, are curators who will be leading the event. We had B. Taylor Sell, who designed the Xhibit online event. Again, like I said, I'll drop that into the chat so you can have a look. That was built from scratch. It was curated and developed and designed with that incredible team. So definitely do take a look. If you do have social media, feel free to share it and shout about it. We'll have it open for a year, so you'll have plenty of time to have a look at it. These you'll see here are our selected artists. You will see them on the website as well. And we're joined by 3 of them today who will be introduced to you shortly. So for anyone who doesn't know, the arts program team sits in the Arts SU, and we're here to help give you the tools for a sustainable creative career. And sustainability is really what we sort of mean by sustainability is that it does have longevity and that you can continue to be creative and enjoy your artistic career. We want to build spaces where you can collaborate, where you can meet each other, where you can network, and you can access new experiences and fill in some of those gaps from your university careers and network with people who you may not normally do. I hope this event is one of those spaces. We have a variety of things that we do here at Arts SU, and particularly in the arts program team. We have current calls, and that's the link just there on the screen. We work with a wide range of partners, including CAS Arts, Vice, and many others with Made in Arts London. We have professional development programs and legacy projects. Xhibit is one of them. And we also have Made in Arts London, which is an opportunity for all students to sell their work. Here is just some information. We'll drop all of these into the chat too. So if you haven't had a look, our What's On page, which you can access via the artssu.com, is where you'll see our remaining events for this year. As I mentioned, this is our last one, so we're really happy to welcome you to this wonderful conversation with the artists. So without further ado, that's absolutely enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Marjan Tatsouras Tiagi, who is an emerging artist and emerging curator who worked on our Xhibit program in some quite extreme circumstances with the pandemic, and Becky Hancock, who is also one of our emerging curators who worked alongside Marjan, and our designer, B. Taylor Sell. We're really happy to welcome Amir Hussein Tegan, Katerina Mimiko, and Henry Glover. So I'll hand over to them.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for attending. I'm so happy to be ending off the exhibit events with a talk from 3 of our artists, Katerina, Henry and Amir. Their practices cover a range of mediums. The works included in exhibit are photography, film and painting. Today we'll be talking about what it means to be an emerging artist, what it looks like in the day-to-day, and the struggles young artists have to deal with. And hopefully we'll get a lot of advice and some insights. Each artist has about 10 minutes to have a presentation and talk about their work. And then that will be followed by a Q&A and discussion. And if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask. It's totally open. And so I will pass over to our first artist, Katerina. I think you're muted. It's really, really quiet.
Now.
Perfect.
Yeah, amazing.
Sorry, Katerina, I think you've gone off again.
I think you should hear me now.
Yeah, that's great. We've got you.
Okay. It's my headphones. If any weird sounds come up, just let me know, okay? So hello, my name is Katerina. I've just finished my BA in Fine Art at Chelsea, and really thank you for this event. It's really nice to meet each other and even virtually talk about what we're doing. So I'll share my screen now. Okay. Can you see my screen? Perfect. So I mainly work with film, with video, with text, performance, and collaborative projects to raise issues, to explore issues around gender, class, language, I'd say, and identity. And for Exhibit 2021, the work that was selected is called Call Out My Name. It's a 24-minute video that, as you can see, this is a film still. It's just a black screen with subtitles popping at certain places, which are translation of a Greek conversation. The issues raised in this video are around marriage and class. There are questions like the right criteria for a husband, if a woman should marry virgin, if women should be smoking. There are a lot of stereotypes for gender and social class that are really obvious in Greece. And yeah, the interesting is I was a bit surprised for this video to be accepted because there are not many visuals. It's just this black screen for 24 minutes. And it might be hard for some people to engage with it because we can't read everything, but that is the point of it, to be able and let go and be okay with listening something you might not understand and in language that you're not you don't really know. And the themes around being a bride and getting married, this is something that has always been present in my family. This is a performance I did a couple of years ago where I dressed up as a bride and walked around my home, and my friend who's here now, hi, um, took photos of me, and I wore the wedding dress of my mom. It's just the whole idea of myself at such a young age being a bride, like the ghost of the bride, and the weight that they put on me to get married and get married to someone specific. It should be a white cis man. You can't marry anything else. It's a disgrace. Yeah, and moving on, then I was really happy this year with all this madness happening to have a solo show in Belgium. A friend of mine from the course remembered the video from when we were having shows in space and asked me to collaborate with him to do a show in Belgium. So we used the gallery his uni provides, which is a window gallery, and Instagram as a platform to show video and performance. This is the poster we had, and those many images at the back are the postcards that we were giving out to people. Really sad I couldn't go to this event, and it meant that we talked long hours over Zoom, over video call to arrange everything. But in the end, it's a nice experience. This is an image of how the video was installed. So people were passing by the window and were seeing a projection of the video in a big curtain. And they could hear the sound a bit from the window. This we also did a performance together and it was shown on Instagram on my friend's university's account. It's called "You Don't Even Know How to Boil Pasta," and my friend Pau embodied a student a Greek student in Belgium who wanted to cook kormos, which is a traditional Greek dessert that is also mentioned in the video. And we took that and created this performance. And I embodied all the closest women in his family, meaning his grandma, you can see me at the top picture, his girlfriend, his mom, and his sister. It's all the women that he calls to ask them how to make this dessert, and they all dessert, but you don't even know how to boil pasta. And it's a comment for how men really don't know these things, like cooking, for example, and how they take advantage of women's knowledge on that, and they take their free labor and their free time. And yeah, for me, for example, I know how to make this dessert just because I've been watching the women in my family making it for years. This was all recorded. It wasn't a live thing. People weren't joining, so we just recorded it, and it was really fun. Another picture. He ended up making a really bad version of the dessert, just to know. It was really messy. And I really like to work again and again on projects that I've made and trying to find ways to include people, especially the people around me, my friends, my family. And this project is called Code Workshop, and it happened over the summer when there was this couple months where we could meet each other. And I invited my friends that I knew wanted to, I had a feeling in me that they wanted to experiment with filming and with acting. And we went on the Greek island of Salaminas near Athens to, I'll go to start. We went there for 2 days to recreate the dialogues in the video that it's taking part for Exhibit, Call Out My Name. So I gave them the script and they didn't have to learn it by heart, they just read it, and to be honest, they really didn't understood what this is about. So there were no instructions, nothing. We just went there and did one-to-one tutorials, um, to build the characters and to explain what the characters in the video are, their relationship amongst each other. We did lots of improvising exercises, which not all of them were planned by me. They just happened while we were there. My friend Natalia, she remembered some, she suggested, and we did them. And in the end, we also did some reading circles, really no rehearsals. And then the final day, we just filmed. My friend, who also has no idea, hasn't studied anything relevant with film, was responsible for documenting and filming the whole thing. And we improvised and recreated the video. This is on the center of the image. The rest all around is what happened before this. Yes. Another project that I'm working on is called The White Pillowcase, and it's a story of a pillowcase, a pillowcase from my family, and it's narrated. All the story is narrated in by this pillowcase, who starts at in 1967 as a dowry and moves on from house to house, woman to woman, and city to village to several cities in Greece and then in London as a dowry. And we get to see through her the lives of the women and their everyday activities and how they're feeling. Through this text, I've created a book which includes the actual archive of my dowry. I do have a dowry, but it's not expected anymore to be taken by me from in my marriage, especially after all these uh, artworks I've done. And yes, so those are just pictures of them uh, in combination with the text, and I sewed them together. The pages, yeah, the text is half in Greek, half in English, because of course the pillowcase is Greek and don't know how to speak English perfectly. We also did an online performance with this text in December with the Feminist Library for their winter fair, and where I was reading the text as the pillowcase while showing images of the diary with the translation of the Greek words. Yeah, this is some examples of the words using. Again, it's really has to do a lot with wedding and gender identity, and the burdens, let's say, that comes when they give you the gender of a female. And oh, I'd also like to mention I'm part of a collective. It's called Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner. And we're also selected for Exhibit 2021. And it's four of us. It's Ines Cardo, myself, Sophie Dixon, and Jessie Evans. We came together in our second year of our BA, and we stayed together since. We work with a lot with workshops and performance, but everything is just based around our relationship and how we are coming, the community, I'd say, supporting each other and doing all these banal things, organizing film clubs, cooking, even knitting can be seen a banal activity. And for Exhibit, our piece safety blanket got selected. It's this piece here, and this is actually a performance. So each one of us needs small pieces, knitted pieces, and then we sew them together. And once we have the circle, the center of it, we sit down together and knit from its edge. And while we're doing this, we invite the passersby to join us and sit with us, talk around issues of, just how you are mostly. This raises a lot of mental health discussions, and crafts discussion, and if craft is art. Yeah, those are just some examples. Then we went bigger and invited more people to join. You can see this one has more edges, and we also taught some people to knit in this while doing this. So the tricky thing is how you do this online. We had no idea how to, but we attempted to do a Skype version and Zoom version of it. It wasn't that successful, in my opinion, but it kept us somehow together and close to each other. We invited people to join and knit with us or learn how to knit. Mostly people who already knew how to knit were coming along. But a good thing that really came out of it was we participated with artist Elena Lopresti, who at the time was collecting knitted squares to assemble to make blankets for people who are experiencing homelessness. And we collaborated with her and initiated a Zoom session of knitting, and everybody who joined sent to Elena their squares and make blankets. And that's it. That's me. Now we have an open studio at Chelsea. It's the other version of a degree show. You can come, it's until the 23rd of June. You can book through Eventbrite to visit the show. And yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. We are running out of time a little bit, so we'll just move on to the next person, which is Henry. If you're ready to go.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Cool. So I'm Henry. I graduated from Wimbledon last year, graduated in painting. And I guess what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about my practice, and then I'll talk about what I've been doing since graduating and the piece that I have in Exhibit. Since graduating, I've just been working as normal. I've been doing sort of random jobs and painting at home. So I've basically had 2 different studios over the course of sort of lockdown. But as of February, I've got a studio. So I'll show you what that looks like. And then when I'm not working in the studio, in the evenings and on the weekends, I'm also at the pottery at Troy Town. So I do throwing. I throw gardenware. And then, like I said, through the week when I've been doing odd jobs, basically I've been doing freelance gardening. I've also been doing freelance graphic work. And I've basically just gotten to the point where I've had enough commissions and enough sales that I don't need to rely on gardening so much anymore. So I will actually have more time to paint, which is fantastic. And then other than that, I have also been making work for different shows. So that's the background. And then about my work, so I normally make work that is quite diaristic and about my own experiences, and I center on themes of intimacy, the present and absence of touch, as well as kind of more sort of more about how our bodies exist in spaces, with other bodies, or alone, or that sort of thing. So I had a show called Take Me Somewhere Nice at Lilia Art Gallery, and I basically was able to exhibit a whole body of work, which was extremely exciting. So here's what that looked like. And there's also, as well as more figurative work and landscape work, there's also ceramics there, which sort of more fluid, abstract bodily forms. So that's kind of what I enjoy playing with. It's sort of lyrical, fluid paintings, which are very much representational, and then sort of more abstracted sculptures. And on top of that, I'll show you some stuff that I've been up to at the moment. Here's another corner of my studio. There's an older work there on the right, which is called Slow Dancers, and it has basically two angles of the same couple dancing, but within the same picture frame. So it almost looks like there's double the amount of people. Then there's sort of various embraces here as well, and that's something that I'm really sort of occupied with. I keep trying to represent the embrace in different ways and sort of try and get at the real essence of the physical aspects of what makes an embrace, and also how I can represent that in a painting or in clay. What else can we show you? In terms of who I look at as artists that sort of motivate my work, I'm really inspired by the German expressionists and sort of classic turn of the 20th century painters. People like Toulouse-Lautrec are really inspiring, and Edvard Munch is also a big inspiration. And then, in terms of people I look at the moment, I'm really inspired by a particular group on Instagram called Asma, who make these amazing sculptures that are just sort of quite wild and psychedelic, but also really fluid and very, very pretty. And then I also like people like Fei Weiwei and Paloma Proudfoot. Right, hold on, just more pictures to show. These are two sculptures. One's called Grief. What's called? I forgot. But they're quite an interesting glaze. This glaze has this sort of crackling effect. So at very high temperature in the kiln, it sort of bubbles and boils and sort of ends up looking quite brain-like or fleshy, which of course I enjoy. Let's see. Let me see if I can. I'm sorry, I'm doing this on my phone, so I'm going to dig for the photo of Take Me Somewhere Nice, which is also the same name as the title of my show, which is the painting that I have in Xhibit. This particular work, when I can find it, it's inspired by a song by Mogwai. It's quite a sort of sedative, slow song, and the sort of general gist of it is, you know, he'd rather be somewhere else, somewhere nice. And I thought that was, you know, somewhat apt for everything we've been feeling in lockdown. And especially I have as well. So it felt right to, you know, also weirdly, I think this was before the lockdown happened. So this is odd that this one just happened to be the one, but also, you know, it felt apt that that was the name I went for the, for my own show. And I'll just find the photo for you to finish on. If I can't have me, if you've got the photo, could you share that? That'd be great.
Of course. Is it on your website?
It should be, but I think I've dug far enough that I can find it. We'll get there. But that's basically me. Yeah.
Great. I will find it and pop it in a link into the chat so everyone can
Fantastic.
have a look. Thanks, Henry.
No problem. Oh, I think I found it. I'll just leave it on it. There you go. And that's the paying in exhibit. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Amir if you're ready to go, and it's our final artist.
Hello, can people hear me? Sweet. I'll start off. I haven't actually got a presentation, so I'll start off describing my practice and then start talking about what I present at Exhibit and what I've been doing for my degree show, which is opening tomorrow at Camberwell. You can book on Eventbrite. But yeah, my name is Amir Dagan. I'm a first generation British Iranian immigrant / artist based in London at the current moment. And I study BF Fine Art Photography at Camberwell. And my practice itself revolves around aestheticizing the systemic oppression that the people of my country face, the people of Iran. The desired effect of my practice is to raise awareness of the topic of oppression, and also all the other issues in relation to that happen in Iran. All with the aim of making the actual topic of oppression a more inviting conversation to enter via visualizing it. I feel this almost overwhelming responsibility as someone that's British Iranian in a privileged setting, to comment on the situation of Iran. As I'm unthreatened, I have a voice, so I can say what I want to say, I can do what I want to do. There's no political threat there. My practice itself acts almost as art therapy for me, because it's a way of getting closer to my Iranian culture. Being in Britain has meant that I don't really have a grasp of my culture. So the practice, my art practice, is my way of bringing me closer to it. But yeah, with regards to my actual physical work, at the moment, I'm currently working on an installation that involves robotics, letterpress, and a sound piece. And about a year and a half ago, I was purely a photographer, but COVID meant that, I don't know, I was just a bit bored, so I started trying to teach myself new things, which led me down robotics, etc., etc. But yeah, in the last year and a half, I sort of built this philosophy that I need to stop focusing on like the technical side of photography and like honing in on one medium, rather expanding my sort of visual discourse into mediums beyond photography, because my focus is not photography, it is to make the conversation of oppression a more inviting way to enter it. And if I set myself these rules of sticking to one medium, obviously I'm building the walls around myself. But yeah, right now, my piece is opening up in Camberwell, in the Camberwell space, and that is a large installation that involves a cage. Unfortunately, I don't have images. It involves a cage with a motorized whip inside of it. Alongside that, there is a large print of the full penal code of Iran, in which it states all the laws that you get whipped for. And it's about this sort of absurdity of the whip in this cultural setting, in the way that we can know what the whip is here. It's completely different. But yeah, the actual work that I did for Exhibit was a series of photographs that I took in Shiraz, my hometown, in Iran. Yeah, it was at a house party, and I took pictures of, I think, 10 individuals in 6 images. And in the dark room, I censored their eyes using stencils, and also using stencils, I burnt in the amount of lashes that each individual, each series of individuals owed her image. And the title, which is 1,446 lashes, is the accumulation of the amount of lashings that each person in that series should have given. Alongside that, there was a letterpress print of the penal code, a smaller version, which just stated the laws that were broken at the night of the party. But yeah, other than that, I've had a show at the Baltic in Gateshead, or Newcastle up north. It's a group show. Weirdly, the actual piece that I was going to show APT for the show ended up there in physical, and you guys have a digital version. Apologies, I guess not. But yeah, other than that, I've not been up to much. Just trying to crack on with getting my final piece done for the degree show. So it's been extremely hectic. I've not had time to breathe for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I guess that's been quite short.
Brilliant, no problem. If you guys are ready, we'll move on to a few questions about what it's like being an artist. And feel free, any of you, to answer, just jump in. And yeah, let's go. So on an average day, what would making art look like to you? And maybe pre-lockdown and post-lockdown, what the differences were?
Hello, sorry. Could you say that again? So the differences between.
So what's a normal day of making work? How do you get up? What gets you out of bed?
Okay, so for me at the moment, a normal day of work is it's sort of, well, I start at 5 and I do gardening until about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So I don't get to the studio until about 6. So it's probably a regular week. I'm probably in the studio maybe 3 times a week, and then either Saturday evening or Sunday during the day as I go to the pottery on a Saturday. So I get in at 6. And basically it's almost, oddly, because I don't actually have a lot of time in the studio, it's almost more focused. So when I go in, it's very much, I get going, and I tend to work on things all at once. So I'll have several paintings on the go. So I'll stretch prime them in the studio, or order materials to the studio. So I'll often have, ones on the go that are halfway done, and others that, are right at the beginning. And it's normally like the title of 4 or 5 days before I sort of finish painting. And that's kind of the format, and I work late into the evening. So a lot of coffee, or, whatever, a lot of food, and that's that. Yeah.
For me, it's a lot of screen. So it's a bit intense right now with COVID, when everything happens on screen, and I also have to work on screen. So I think I need a break, to be honest. So it's really a lot of editing, and I create archives. I film without knowing that I want to use certain things. Usually I film when I'm back in Greece and I do things there. Then I come in London and look back at them and work with them, edit them. That's the thing. And I don't like getting up from bed. So when luckily I don't work, I will stay in bed I like staying in bed for 1 or 2 hours and just thinking, and some ideas come up then.
Personally, for me, because of COVID, not having access to any of the workshops, it's been extremely focused / hectic. I spent the entire COVID just tinkering with like electronics and robotics and trying to get my head around coding and stuff that I didn't know, which was engaging. It tickled my brain for that time, which is brilliant. But I was raring to go when the uni opened. So I've pretty much just been doing metal work as of late, which, yeah, just making sculptures, welding, all of which will be in this installation. This installation has kept me going for the last 9 months, which is brilliant. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, lockdowns and COVID has had a huge effect on young artists, especially those at uni. Obviously, you guys have felt that. Do you have any tips for other artists who are feeling disconnected or isolated and struggling to make work?
Should I go again first?
Yeah, just jump in.
If you're struggling in terms of having a creative block or not knowing what to make, I think the best way to sort of get going on something is basically just start making, whether that's in your practice or in your field, or something that's completely sideways from what you do. So for example, when I go into the studio and I have no idea what to do, I will literally just start mixing paint because that's fun. And then I'll start pushing it around on something that I don't care too much about. And then that kind of act of doing something gets it almost gets rid of whatever that bad block was out of your system, and then you can sort of start thinking about what you want to do in a more focused way. But I think if you're feeling isolated or not sure of what to be making, go to museums, go to galleries, and just take photos, make an archive. I don't know, just collect things. It's all about like collecting information and then, putting it together. That'd be my advice.
Brilliant advice. Just keep active.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Any other advice?
Mine would be just to pick up something that you would never enjoy or think you'd enjoy. Like, I want to do some ceramics, but I've never never been engaging in my head. But yeah, just pick up any medium that you can think of. Try something new, try and explore. Something might tickle your brain in the process.
I'd also like to say that taking a break is okay, and it's much needed and completely understandable if you can't do anything right now. It's been such a pressure, especially for people being in uni at this point, to do things, and it's hard to do things right now, and completely understand if you can't do anything.
We have a question from Avni, which is, how would you define success within the last year?
I'd say success comes from when you find that particular contest within yourself, within a work, where you find like you're making something that, well, this is what I think for me, where you're actually contesting something in yourself or an idea, or it's worth pushing it, or there's some sort of struggle where there's a kind of reward at the end for you because you know that there was something you were grasping for that wasn't just simply a process to make an object that's I think it's great if there's something that's contested. Yeah.
I would say success is pretty much just surviving COVID, to be honest. The mental strain that everyone went through is expected and normal. So yeah, just surviving and being here at the end with a normal, with your head screwed on, I guess, or partly screwed on. And if you make something that's tangible at the end of it, then that's a plus. But being here at the end is what's important.
Really agree with that. Yeah.
In another way, what would you what do you do to navigate problem solving, whether that's the limit with materials or time or space, or even motivation and mental health? How have you guys managed to get through all these things that have come up in the last year?
For me, when I've struggled with any, there's anything that's going on that's stressful or saddening, I make, I think what I do is very vocational. It's very much what I enjoy. So that is enough of a kind of cathartic release for me. But, I'll put on, TV or YouTube whilst I'm painting, I'll make it as enjoyable as possible. I'll listen to podcasts as well. And in terms of navigating, what was the other bit of the question?
Problem solving and dealing with issues.
I guess just in terms of just trying to find ways around like you say, just problem solving. For me it's just a case of working on several works at once so that one might inform the other. So when I hit a kind of dead end with one, I go on to the other one, and then what I do and then in a further work actually solves a previous work. So I always find you can work on a work that's from a year ago as well as working on one that's from a couple of days ago. So I think don't be too precious and work on lots and lots of stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, don't be too precious is my advice. Cool.
I think as artists, we're quite creative, so we can sort of work around it. Well, personally, I did that sort of during COVID. I pretty much tried to make my own white cube space, so I can just have a space to perform, a messy space. And this was in my really small London flat. My flatmate decided to make a workbench. But yeah, we can use our creativity to sort of overcome it, but we don't. The voice in our head tells us we can't do that. We can, I believe.
This year I had had to solve a lot of problems, especially when you have a degree and it's the weight of a degree. I was really stuck many times, and I had a really good advice from my tutor. She told me, just go away, leave your work, leave your video away, and don't look at it for 2-3 days, and then just go back and try and see it with new eyes. Take a coffee and relax while watching it. Mm-hmm. And I think just taking a break from your work sometimes is needed to come back and add something new, or just trying to see it with new eyes. And I also try to do this by talking to my friends, or my family, somebody that it's not in my art circles. We tend to have really close circles, and getting advice from people already in the art world. But I really like to include my friends and family, and really help me to see my work with new eyes again.
Lovely, great answers. You all have really distinct and strong practices. How did you find your creative voices, and do you have any advice for other artists who don't have maybe confidence to speak or make work about certain topics?
Thank you for what you just said. I wouldn't even consider my work being a particularly strong style, so that's really nice to hear. I think, I think it's kind of the problem is you should really. I always think it's easier to make work about yourself than to sort of reach out onto an idea that feels like you might feel scared about doing something like that, or it makes you anxious because it seems like quite a lot of pressure to take on. But I think if you start to make work about yourself, you'll find that you are touching on a lot wider and larger themes, and you're being honest to yourself. So maybe it is within your own kind of remit of what you can do. So I think be confident in what you are as a person and what you're surrounded with, you know. Yeah.
I mean, personally for myself, it was an experience that I had. I went back home to Iran and I sort of realized my position as a British Iranian. But yeah, it's all about this knowing yourself and making your work about yourself so you can further discover more about yourself, I guess. Which is in essence strong. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll repeat what you both said. Be yourself is the thing, and just listen the voice you have in you, and just let it go sometimes. Listen the voice you have in you, but not the judgmental voice you have in you.
That's the key. So we've got another question from the chat, which is, I'm very interested in how you're all embodied in your practice. Do you get into your bodies before you create?
That's a great question. Do I get into my bodies before I create? I guess so. Is that like I get into the mood for for making or painting? Yeah, I think I kind of know as soon as I enter the studio that it's like something switches and I'm in it. But it's very much like, for me, it's a physical activity, so I enjoy the fact that it's active. And I think as soon as I start doing that, that's when time slips by and I'm really just in it and enjoying it. So I think that's how it works for me, in terms of that question.
I think for myself, my practice sort of has gone past the walls of my studio. I mean, it's about my identity, so I can't really disregard it or like take a break from my body and come back. But it's getting to the studio, which is like what feeds me. It's my way of getting to know myself, I guess. So yeah, or my body, I call it.
Yeah, for me, because my work has to do with my body and my identity, same with Amir. You have to really know your body, be into it, and then I tend to go out of it as well when I make the work or even when I film, so that I have this distance and realizing, because I also include a lot of my family and personal moments, I need to go out of it to see it from outside. But as well, for the breathe, move question, when I film, I tend to, or take pictures, control my breath. First of all, so your hand is not shaking, but to be a bit more focused. Yeah.
I think we have time for one final question, which is from Becky, which is, what are your ambitions for the future? Nice ending point.
My ambitions for the future would be to be in a position where I'm simply making and supporting myself only with my work. And I think I'm sort of almost getting there. You know, it feels like it's almost in reach. So essentially just pushing myself into a position where I'm making work that I'm still happy with. And, you know, I think that my ambitions for the future is to keep on making exciting work. That would be great. Yeah. Thank you.
I would agree with Henry. It's just trying to get to a position where we can just make and focus on making and like continue making, but it's getting past the obstacles of that to eventually reach that. Which, yeah, that is my goal, to just be able to make freely.
Yeah, to extend the freely aspect, is have a job that, I mean, not having to do too many jobs to sustain yourself, so that you can have time to focus on your artistic practice is really the goal with this. That's also my aspiration for the future, and being
Yeah.
able to talk with more people and engage people with what I'm doing.
Yeah, fantastic answers. We are going to end off here because it's 7. But thank you so much for all your great answers and your presentations and some insight into your work. I think it's really important to acknowledge how tough a year it's been on emerging artists and young artists with lack of uni or just support in general and spaces. So I'm super excited to see what's coming next for you all. And thank you to Avni and Katie and the rest of the team, as well as Becky, my co-curator. And thank you so much for attending. I'm going to pass it back to Avni now.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. That was incredibly insightful. I think to hear your voices, hear your process, whether you think you've got a strong style or not, you're here, you're making, and that is one of the most incredible things that you can be doing right now. We had a lot against us last year in many ways, as Mia, as you said, mentally, emotionally, physically, yet here we are. So that is an achievement in itself, and on we go as well from that. Thank you for sharing the kind of embodiment practice. It's super interesting for me to understand what are the other things outside of actually creating your work. Also being yourself, it was said quite a few times, and that's not said lightly. I know what kind of journey that takes to become yourself and be comfortable in your own skin, and I hope everyone here can find that as you start to get what you need from this new world. Thank you so much, Marjan and Becky, for bringing these artists together. They are incredible curators in their own right, and they do have a project called the Middle Ground Project, which I will just drop into the chat here. So if anyone has a chance, please do check that out. That is their incredible work. Don't forget that all of you in this room together are creating networks, so look out for each other's names. Obviously, all of the artists in the room that you heard from to become your network, and all of us here at the Arts SU and our programming team. Just to finish off, we do have a feedback form. I know feedback forms can be a little bit dry, but this is a really important one because it helps shape the program. So we really listen to what you want, what you don't want, what you want more of and less of. So if you do have a few minutes, do fill that out. We'll send it in an email along with the recording, so you don't have to do it today. The last thing I wanted to mention is that we've got a couple more events coming up, although this is the last one of the exhibit series. If you look at the chat, there's a link there to our What's On page. We have one more from the arts program team called What's Your Story? Bringing stories of racial equality to life through augmented reality. That's on the 3rd to the 5th of July. So if you are interested, please do book onto that. All of our events are free to you, so please do take advantage of it. And on that, just thank you, everyone. It's been really wonderful to have you. Good luck with everything, and as we emerge, and keep us posted on your incredible work.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
So
Thank
the
you.
event will close now. I'll just stay here for a couple of minutes while everyone tapers off. If you do have any questions or want to hang around and chat, we are here for a couple of minutes. Have lovely evenings.
You too. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Really enjoyed that. Bye.
Is everyone gone?
Yes.
Everyone gone, including Becky.
I'm sure she's
I
starving.
might say that they didn't. I'm just going to stop the recording.